What up, everybody? Mixing it up on you a little bit this week. We're actually going to do a UFC 256 preview. Beefy Boys breakdown takes place the day after the fight, each and every fight. But this week, we're still doing a normal Beefy Boys post-fight like we do. But we wanted to give you all a little bit of a preview this week in case you wanted to talk betting, in case you wanted to know what fights we're excited about. Just, kind of some build-up instead of just the recap. So let me get Harrison on here, and we're going to do our first official Beefy Boys UFC 256 fight preview. Let's go.
What up, what up?
Man, and shout out to you. This was all Harrison's idea. He had an idea. He shot me a text like, man, what do you think about like a little preview this week? And I said, that sounds dope as fuck. I'm up here in Lake Tahoe right now. And, I got some free time on my hands and I brought my podcast set up. So, man, why?
Yes, sir.
Might as well make the most of it, man.
Yeah, I mean, last pay-per-view of the year here. And honestly, some really, really great fights on this card. Like, I'm very pumped for this card. I don't know. Do you have a favorite fight just off the top?
Yes, definitely Tony and Charles Oliveira.
Yeah, I would say I'm leaning that way too.
But it's only because we a Tony fight, you don't see it every day. There's always so much buildup and canceled fights, but everybody knows he's super elite. So Tony, it's great to see Tony. By all accounts, if Oliveira doesn't come in 4 pounds over, like as Tony was talking about on Twitter.
For some reason, Brazilians just can't make weight. I don't know what it is.
Man, and so Tony kind of preemptively called him out on that. So I mean, I'm honestly still holding my breath on that one, bro. Like between COVID last minute cancellations and
3
Tony,
of them already.
And then Tony openly admitting that, like, if he comes in that super overweight, I'm not fighting him. So, you know what I'm saying? I'll kind of cross that bridge when I get to it. But to answer your question, how could you not be stoked for that banger? What seems to be a banger?
I would say, for me, it's either that one or Trailblazer and Jacare.
Yeah, that's on this card too. That's fucking sick as well. Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, we can just take it from the top and get into it because obviously the main card is stacked up. But the prelims are honestly really good. Like, these are a lot of prelim fighters we'd be used to seeing in the main card on a fight night.
Yeah. So are you saying start at the main card and work down to prelims, or start at prelims?
No. Yeah, we'll start at the first match. So, like, we'll go in the UFC's order, just so people have an easier way to follow it.
Now, did the Billy Quarantillo fight get like scratched? Is that still going on? Because on UFC it's pulled from the website, but on Best Fight Odds it's still on. So like I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's still on. They moved around a few of the like fights as far as the order of them.
Okay.
Which I thought was weird, but that might be what it is. It might be that they're just trying to put it in its correct slot on the website.
Okay, yeah, maybe they moved it up from the early prelim because there's only one early prelim fight now, at least according to UFC's website. And actually, just to note, Beefy Boy history right here in the making. I actually have a computer in front of me instead of my old caveman notepad. So usually I'm just etching stuff in the wall with a stick, but got my old faithful my laptop pulled up so we get some real time stats. I got these money lines are moving as we speak. So yeah. And I'm actually thinking about, I don't know, like I said, I'm in Lake Tahoe, so I could just cross the border to Nevada, go back over to Hard Rock and place a bet. If you convince me enough on any of these during this preview, I might have to go put my money where your mouth is.
There's a couple good ones, man. There's a couple really, really good ones. So we'll just take it from the top. Right now I have it that there's 10 fights on unless they can get Li Zhengliang a fight again. Apparently they're still looking, but I think we're too close now. Like, no one's going to take it within probably 3 days. That's just too much.
Yeah.
So probably down to a 10-fight card, which sucks, but, I mean, that's pretty standard, right? 5-5, that's what we're used to rocking with.
Yeah, that's plenty. I mean, considering the quality of them, I'm not complaining. And I mean, I love fights, but, sometimes it's nice to not spend 4 or 5 hours in front of the TV. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll be honest. Knocking out that extra early hour for not having the early prelims is sometimes worth it, Like, we've talked about it before, especially where bad early prelims set the tone for usually a better finish to the card. And then the opposite's true as well. We've had banger early prelims and then a very lackluster main card. So, gotta take out that juju.
I think we're going to be all right. Like I said, even the lower end talent is still like fairly decent Q rating, at least among hardcore MMA fans. Like, I mean, to have Chase Hooper on the opening,
He's the opening fight of the night.
Exactly, and we can dive into that.
Yeah. So Chase Hooper's I have him at minus 380 right now. Is that what you have on best fight odds?
So I'm going to base it off the William Hill, and he's
that's what I'm going off of as well.
Minus 345 currently live.
Ooh, a lot of money coming down.
There's been some action for sure. But yeah, it looks anywhere between 345, 355, 365. You can even find minus 400, which why would you want to? So that's not. But like, so you can find lower numbers. I see as low as minus 310 on what is that? Sports INT. So yeah,
that might be worth taking. To be quite honest, if you can find it that way.
Yeah, you got to shop around. The Hard Rock, which is probably where I'm going to place my bet, they have an actual like in-person William Hill, so that's why I'm.
Yeah, that was tight.
I'm paying special attention to the William Hill numbers. Plus, I think William Hill's the official numbers the UFC uses on TV, so that'll make our breakdown go smoother. So a very reputable source, but also just kind of betting advice 101. Shop around if you're betting online, probably more so than if you're betting in person. But shop around and try to find a number that better suits you. You know what I mean? Competition breeds lower prices.
So what is the plus for Peter Barrett then? Maybe like a plus 280? Is that what William Hill's sitting him at?
Plus 260. So it's minus 345 Hooper, plus 260. Yeah, he's all the way up to plus 300 on one book, but on Bet 365. Yep. But yeah, so needless to say, Hooper is a big favorite, and something that I'm actually considering doing, and something that I learned from your betting advice is instead of whenever there's a heavy favorite like Hooper, if you like him, if that's the fight you want to bet, build that into a parlay.
Absolutely.
And get a way better number and get more value, especially if you're like me. Like, I'm probably just going to put 20, 30 bucks down. There's no – I would literally win like $2 off my – so there's no – I mean, don't check that bro math, but I'm saying the return on investment would be dog shit. It would be just a waste of gas to drive over to Nevada. And so – but factoring him into a parlay, especially since it's the first fight of the night, you don't want your action to be done from just an entertainment perspective too. So on an early fight with a big number that you really like, go ahead and build that into a parlay, baby.
I absolutely agree. I was going to say that there's 3 guys on this card, 3 fighters, I should say. They're not all guys, that you would probably take in a parlay as your heavy end of it, and that's going to be either Chase Hooper, Tisha Torres, or Cyril Gane. Pretty much because those 3 are the most guaranteed to win, so you kind of get that easy win in a parlay. People that don't know betting terms too well, you can go find the episode of Dreadful Talk where we review and go through all of it.
I want to say it's 16, but could be.
That sounds right. But for those that don't know, a parlay simply means that you're going to say that you pick this bet, and this bet, and you can only win if all 3 of your picks hit. If you miss any one of your picks, the parlay is over and the house wins. So a little more risk, a lot more payout.
Yes. Which is why it's good to minimize the risk on parlays by taking like essential big money locks.
Right.
It kind of meets halfway. It's kind of, I don't know, it's good on both ends. But for sure. And then and also on the betting tip, you would really never want to put an underdog on a parlay unless you have some spectacular information or just you're willing to bet the farm. But typically parlays are going to be multiple favorites parlayed into a single bet. You really want to make – because if you're going to bet the underdog, you're going to get good ROI anyway. So the parlay doesn't bring as much to the table. Just talking betting terms 101 here, betting fights, not everybody's super well versed. It's newly legalized in many states. And or a lot of people know how to use VPNs as well. So
good for those people too. Shout out ExpressVPN if you're watching. Hit us up. So Chase Hooper is actually the youngest male fighter in the UFC. He's at the time of the fight going to be 21 years old, like 2 months. Like he's just barely older than the 2 girls that we watched recently fight. I cannot remember their names.
But those 3 fighters are at the bottom end of the age group of the UFC, which is wild. I mean, I feel like more times than not that doesn't usually end well as far as the long-term outlook on a fighter's career. But I mean, Chase Hooper is trying to counter that narrative, but a lot of times, man, it gets proven that you came over too soon. Like usually those guys that make their debut at like 26, 27, as opposed to 22, 23, typically, fare better. But hey, there's exceptions to every rule. And I mean, Hooper's a hell of a fighter.
I mean, he's 9-1-1. His only loss came in his last fight out in the UFC.
Yeah, Caceres, right?
Yep, Alex Caceres. And honestly, Caceres just did a great job to keep the distance, pop the jab at him, and really just kind of outpoint him to the point where Chase Hooper just started getting beat up. Chase Hooper's an elite grappler, trains with like Ben Askren. He's a funny dude. If you saw whenever Masvidal knocked out Askren, there's actually a clip of Chase Hooper coming up and asking Masvidal, he was like, "Hey man, why'd you knock my dad out like that?" And Masvidal really thought that Chase Hooper was Ben Askren's son because they look identical.
They look pretty goddamn similar for sure. Yeah, no, that's really funny. I didn't know that. Great little nugget there. But yeah, so that should be a fun way to start off the night. God damn it, if Peter Bear gets the upset in that though, that'd be a fun way to start the night too. But I mean,
that'd be awesome.
That's your parlay, but.
My pick on this is definitely Chase Hooper. I think you could even bet him by submission here and be really safe in that bet. That would bring his odds down a whole lot. But I'm just going to go ahead and say Chase Hooper wins this fight. If you want a specific pick, I'm going to go second round sub. Peter Barrett, not the most impressive guy.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we could go a little further into it.
As the money line indicates, I think we covered that one. So yeah, just fun fight to start off the night. Maybe something to consider building into a parlay. I'm heavy favorite on Chase Hooper. We both like Hooper, and man, I'm actually gonna just keep. I think the next fight, unless it's been rearranged, is Spivak, right or no?
As far as I can tell, that one got pulled. I haven't seen Spivak's on it.
Oh, all right. Then that's crazy because that's his third fight in a row to get canceled. And also, he's still on bestfightodds.com. So never mind. We can keep it pushing.
Man, this COVID is so weird the way it's hitting fighters. Did you hear about Charles Oliveira's coach today tested positive for COVID? Can't be in his corner.
Man.
Charles Oliveira's good. He didn't get it from him, but.
I mean, I don't know. See, I don't know.
So
I feel like
he's out of coach now.
Anybody that's fighting Tony Ferguson, the fight is just like jinxed or heck.
Jinxed to not happen.
Like seriously, bro, there's some like weird factor going on there. And I'm not necessarily blaming Tony Ferguson. Just weird shit happens when Tony Ferguson gets scheduled for an exciting fight, right? Like, am I wrong? Like, there's a lot of precedent.
Five times he's been scheduled to fight Khabib, and not once has he fought him.
There's been other fights, right? It's not only Khabib, like he's had other fights canceled as well. I'm pretty so it's not necessarily like gonna be shocking to me. Like I said, I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, but it's like I'll believe it when I see it. Like as soon as that cage locks and the bell rings, I'll allow myself to get excited about that one because I just have a funny feeling about that. But what's the next fight? I'm just gonna let you do the order, bro, because like apparently my shit's out of whack.
I'm just going off what ESPN is showing too, and I assume that they're gonna have it correct because they're the broadcast for it, but I could be wrong. It looks like they swapped Mackenzie Dern and Verna Yandiroba for Fiziev and Moicano. So Fiziev and Moicano is now in the prelims.
Yeah,
but the next fight is
the fight before the co-main.
Yeah, the featured event or featured bout. That's what they're technically called when they're
I didn't know
when
that.
they're not. Yeah, when they're not main or co-main, they're the featured bout.
Featured bout. All right, that's good to know. A little nugget. Might be some trivia one day. But anyway, so we got Fiziev Moicano next.
This fight is super interesting. So Hinata Makano, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I have him at plus 135. Is that what Best Fight Odds is carrying him at?
That's what Five Dimes has him at. William Hill has him at plus 130 and Fiziev at minus 161. So slightly different, $5.
Okay.
But that one's pretty consistent across the board. The biggest I see Fiziev is minus 165. The smallest number I see is minus 147. But yeah, about in that ballpark.
So I am all in on Rafael Fiziev in this one. Moicano's striking is not bad, right? Like it's not bad, but Fiziev is this ultra elite Muay Thai striker, which the last time he was out, we were raving about him.
Yeah,
I mean, anytime someone can do the matrix dodge for kicks and punches and actually just lean at their waist backwards, it puts on a better show. Moicano's big chance here is that he starts landing leg kicks early to try and make Fiziev use his movement more to get out of the striking range. But honestly, Moicano's best chance here is leg kicks to get to an entry to shoot, get him down, and try and get a submission or just control the fight along the cage or on the ground. I don't see that happening. I see Fiziev landing nasty body kicks, nasty shots up top, and eventually maybe taking Moicano out. Right.
Yeah. Fiziev's body kicks last time just gave me and Harrison, the MMA fan, boners. It was so beautiful. It was just really just a work of art. And so just a little bit, just because I'll be honest, like I don't like to cap and act like I know every fighter under the sun. I'm not super familiar with Moicano. Maybe some of our viewers aren't either. So his last 3 fights, he's 1-2, with his win being most recent. He lost to Aldo back in 2019. He also lost to Korean Zombie Chan Sung Jung in 2019. He beat Hadzovic, for what it's worth, by rear naked choke, earlier this year in March, right before, I guess, the pandemic hit. And yeah, I mean, so just not super. He has a win over Cub Swanson, who we'll get into a little bit, but that's going back to 2018, not super recent. So, yeah, you're right. Moicano doesn't give you just a ton to be excited about as far as recent, things that he's shown us lately. What have you shown me lately? So, and Fiziev, what have you shown us lately is that he's a goddamn murderer. So I feel you, especially at that number, and God, right. I hope this doesn't bite us in the ass, but that seems like a fucking great number on Fiziev. Like, I think yeah, the Hooper, Fiziev, and maybe I got to pick one more, and I'll pick one more fighter.
T. Ferg's not bad at those numbers. T. Ferg's not bad at those numbers.
I'll be real, bro, and maybe I'm just doing my laptop research. Let me know if I'm tripping, but I'm really not liking Cub Swanson in this fight. I'm not saying I'm loving Pineda, but I'm just not loving Cub Swanson in this fight.
So they're the featured prelim, which we'll dive into here pretty soon. I'll try and talk you into Cub Swanson a little more. Although I myself have kind of gone back and forth on it just because he's coming back from an ACL tear in a grappling event. So it's like, what version do we get?
Tear, he was 1-4.
But look at the guys he fought. I mean, just champions, saying, all champions.
Like you don't. I'm not putting no money on that, bro. Like I'm saying, maybe I can leave it out of the parlay altogether. But yeah, as far as putting money on Swanson, doesn't seem. I don't know. It gives me a funny feeling about that one. But yeah, man. So Fiziev, yeah, nasty Muay Thai, nasty body kicks. We both really like him at essentially at minus 160 at William Hill. That's what I would pretty much get him at if I placed my bet. So I mean minus 160 for I feel good about that minus 160. And obviously Vegas knows more than we do, but god damn it.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Yeah, I feel you, bro. I like that number. I like that number a lot, bro.
I really like Fiziev in that fight. I like him, and that number they're giving him is crazy good.
Exactly. Like I'm kind of shocked. I think maybe is there something I don't know? Did he fucking stub his toe? Did he? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's just that 2 years ago, whenever he fought Mustafayev and lost, and he just has a couple decisions that didn't go his way, and I think that Vegas looks at those past fights, kind of does that same thing where they're like, well, he lost to this guy, and MMA math doesn't work that way. And also, he's on his way up. Like his last 9 months, he's just looked great.
Yeah, I agree, man, for sure. That fight's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully we get proven right. I'm feeling good about that one. If I pick a single fight to bet, it'll be that one. Like if I don't do a parlay, if I pick a single fight, I think that's the one I feel best about as far as the number and all that goes. But what's the next fight after them? I don't even know what this crazy order is.
So Tisha Torres and Sam Hughes. This is my most confident pick. I think Tisha Torres just lights Sam Hughes up. I'm not sure what the odds are, but as far as I had seen it, she was the most heavily favored fighter on the card.
Yeah, and it's really so damn. William Hill has her all the way at minus 500.
Wow! I had her at 470, minus 470.
Yeah, other sites have her as minus 450. There's a couple. Oh shit! Fucking Bet 365 has her minus 714. So yeah, money's pouring in on Torres. I mean, probably rightfully so. She's a savage.
She has a fight against. Pretty sure she has a fight against Weili Zhang in there. It was Weili's first fight in the UFC. Super tough. I mean, that sucks to get the eventual champion as your first fight.
Yeah, that's wild.
Or it's her first fight.
That's a bad stroke of luck.
And then Sam Hughes, relatively unknown. This is a spot, though, where she could do like a Yusuf Zalal kind of a moment and show everyone that she's on a different level and actually maybe beat Tisha Torres. But like I said, man, I don't see any. Really, the only path to victory for Sam Hughes is getting lucky.
The people Tisha Torres has fought, now her record in her last 5, she's 1-4. But the people she's fought is insane. So going back to 2017, she got a win over Watterson, which we all know Watterson can fight. But then 4 L's in a row, but against murderers. Andrade L in 2018, Joanna Jędrzejczyk in 2018 L, Weili Zhang, current champ, lost. That's 2019. Crazy. And then Marina Rodriguez, not definitely as to the caliber as those previous 3, but I guess after you lost 3 in a row, your confidence isn't that high. Now, she is coming off a win against, we watched her destroy Brianna Van Buren, I'm pretty sure. Didn't she fuck her up back in June? I'm pretty sure we did a Beefy Boys over it. I'm pretty sure she fucked her up pretty bad.
Yeah.
And so it's weird. It's like, like I said, if you look back at her last fights, but kind of what have you done me lately? She's looking good. I don't know. I feel what you're saying about how I think she's gonna win, but that number is a little crazy for in my opinion.
Yeah. As far as betting goes, I'm staying away from Tisha Torres. There's no reason to put yourself in that like sort of risk reward zone because the reward's so small, and the risk is really small too. But for any amount of risk, that reward won't be worth it. On a number that big.
Well, and I'm just saying, being devil's advocate here, what if the Van Buren fight was the fucking anomaly? What if her previous 4 fights is the true Tisha Torres? Now, granted, losing to monsters isn't horrible, but I'm just saying, 4 losses in a row and then a win over an okay fighter in Van Buren. Like, I don't know where this just uber confidence. Now, I'm not saying Tisha Torres shouldn't be favored, but the 500 and these 700, these crazy numbers, I don't feel that confidently as Vegas does, but apparently they feel pretty goddamn good about it. But like I said, I think we're both kind of staying away from this one as far as betting goes. Now, as far as wanting to watch it as a fan, I'm stoked for it. I'm glad she's on the card. I'm stoked to watch that fight. But as far as betting on it, doesn't just make me feel super warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where it's my most confident pick, but it's also a pick I would never bet, right? Does that if that makes any sense? Like, I'd pick her to win, but I would never risk anything on it.
So are you saying because of the number?
I just think like matchup wise, and I think skill sets and styles, like Tisha Torres should just walk through Sam Hughes, no problem. So like as far as just if there were no odds, I would say she's my most confident pick to win. Okay, but then you talk about the odds, and it's like I would never bet that number.
Okay, yeah, and I think that's the thing that people need to understand when it comes to betting fights. The difference and that nuance and that gap between those two statements is a substantial gap. Like,
absolutely, it is. Like, it's a pick, but never a bet.
In most, like, that would just go over some people's heads. Like, isn't that a contradiction? Like, no, it's not. Like, if you know betting, that makes a lot of sense for sure. And man, shout out to whoever's watching live. It's hard for us to read paragraphs, though. Fucking writing novels over there, J.K. Rowling. Thanks for tuning in. But no, I'm just playing. I really don't know who that is, but because it's literally so long we can't see. But thanks for your participation, and we love all the live viewers.
They're talking about Brandon Moreno. I think a lot of people are on Moreno for this against Figueiredo, and we'll get to it. What's crazy is, people talk about how big Figueiredo is for the division. Brandon Moreno is bigger. He is taller and longer and has a longer leg reach.
Yeah, but he's frailer. I know that's not a word.
Right, like Figueiredo is shredded.
Yeah,
Figueiredo is shredded.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, man. So who's next after the Torres-Hughes fight? Because we're definitely whoever wants to hear us talk Moreno Figueiredo, we're gonna go balls deep. Just you got to stick around. We go in order. Yeah. But we're gonna go balls deep in that main event. That's a fun one, championship fight.
Super fun one. So next is Billy Quarantillo, Dana White Contender Series guy. I actually like him a lot, though, versus Gavin Tucker. Gavin Tucker was one of those it's Leffler. Shout out Leffler. Gavin Tucker was the Canadian guy that's a really good grappler that the UFC seems super high on, and they seem like they really want to build him, but he just keeps falling short, at least performance-wise. I have him at plus 145 and Billy Q at minus 170, although I'm going to assume that Cesar William Hill has him a little closer than that.
William Hill actually has a minus 175 Quarantino and plus 138 Tucker. So
okay, yeah, so they're almost right with what I had seen recently. Must not be a whole lot of money coming in on this fight. Makes sense because this is one that could be really dangerous for Billy Q. Billy Q is one of those guys that he seemingly gets stronger as fights go on. He kind of starts it's like a Donald Cerrone kind of a guy. Starts slow, finds his rhythm, will start actually beating the hell out of someone. So I really see this fight being a 29-28 decision for Billy Q in which he loses that first round. But he's got to be careful because Gavin Tucker is such a good jiu-jitsu grappler that he could get a sub on Billy Q. Now, the other thing for Billy is he's a really good wrestler. So if he can avoid the guillotine, it's almost like there's not a lot of other submissions he needs to worry about. And he's a super tough guy.
So sounds like there's a pretty clear path to victory if he avoids the jiu-jitsu slip-ups and then
absolutely, because I think he's a little bit more polished striker as well.
Yeah. I'll be real. I don't feel super strongly about this. We've watched Quarantillo fight, and I think we've watched Tucker fight. Just I don't feel super strongly about this. I don't want to talk out of my ass and act like I'm an expert on these guys. I definitely lean on Harrison's opinion on this one. I don't feel super strongly. I'm looking forward to the fight. It's interesting that it got moved up in the order because I think originally this was supposed to be on either the early prelims or early in the prelims. So the fact that Dana moved it up, it kind of tells me to expect fireworks. But looking out for it for sure.
Well, I would also say that it's once again the DWCS thing where any promotion for Billy Q is promotion for Dana, and it's like, all right, well, get him in, Dana, get him in. We don't care, it's fine. But yeah, we'll keep it pushing to the featured prelim just because for the Billy Q Gavin Tucker fight, like I said, I'm picking Billy Quarantillo. Probably not going to bet it because it's just too close, too tight, and Gavin Tucker has like a real path to victory, and he could easily win the first and second round and flip that decision 29-28 Tucker. So that's what I'm staying away from, but there are good odds there if you feel really strongly about it.
Okay, fair enough.
So Cub Swanson, not the favorite in this fight, coming off of like a 14-month layoff after tearing his ACL in a grappling tournament. Super unfortunate. He actually had fought Brian Ortega pretty recently before tearing his ACL and was winning the fight until he got put into Brian Ortega literally got a front headlock, jumped up, and went into a standing guillotine in which Cub Swanson was standing, but Brian Ortega was literally up on him. It's the highlight where the guy starts tapping on Ortega's back with both hands, and Ortega's not getting off, so the ref pulls him off, and then Cub Swanson starts to crash from literally passing out. And as soon as that happens, Ortega lets it go, and then Swanson hits the ground and wakes up. It's really cool.
That's right. Yeah, I've seen that highlight. Yeah, I've seen that highlight. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, Cub Swanson has plenty of L's, especially recently. So in his last 6 fights, he's 1-5. Now, some of these losses are to killers. He's lost to Brian Ortega and Frankie Edgar. That was back in 17 and 18, though. He lost to Moicano, who we mentioned we're not super high on, but that was back in 18. He fought Shane Burgos and lost in 19. He beat Kron Gracie in 19, and then he has a loss to Jake Shields, but it was a loss due to injury. Oh, that was the grappling bout. You're right. That's the so yeah, it's really 1-5. Or 1-4, not 1-5. He's coming as far as MMA goes. He's coming off a win against Kron Gracie, who's obviously a grappler. I don't know, man. I just between the injury and the 1-4, I don't know. I'm not touching this one with a 10-foot pole as far as Swanson goes. I'm not sitting here beating the drum for Pineda saying he's a world beater, but I'm just saying how I view probably sports in general more so than just MMA. From what I know about sports and I don't know, dog. There's no dauber up for me as far as Cub Swanson. He's a plus. It looks like he's getting about plus 135 across the board, between 130 and 137. So really consistent, which isn't a huge underdog. So Vegas, they're not saying that he's doesn't stand a chance, but I might build Pineda into my parlay. I don't know. I don't feel good about Swanson, but you feel better about him. So let me know.
So the only reason I like him so much in this fight is simply because, like you had noted, he had a big string of losses. But you think about who those guys are. Shane Burgos, almost you can't knock him out, essentially. He has the craziest chin we'd ever seen. Then you're talking about Ortega, Frankie Edgar, guys that fight for the belt at that weight. Daniel Pineda is not one of those guys necessarily. Not to say he's a scrub by any means. He's super good. I mean, what's his record in his last 5? I think it's 4-1 or 3-2.
Yeah, let me look that up real quick. I got you. But just keep going. I got you.
Yeah. So Pineda should be the favorite, I think. But I think Cub Swanson has a really clear path to victory here, which is that if he can just keep it as far as even exchanges on the feet, I think he's way better on the ground. Way, way better. And I mean, Cub Swanson is a jiu-jitsu black belt. Now, granted, he did get tapped by Moicano, or lost the fight to Moicano, I should say. But Moicano's a 3rd-degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Cub Swanson's like a 1st or 2nd. Really not a big difference there, but point being they're both excellent elite grapplers. And then Swanson to take that fight against Jake Shields was really dumb because Jake Shields weighs a good 20 pounds more. So when he got put into a knee bar, it was like he just ripped his knee out.
Shredded his knee, just like fucking like you're taking a chicken apart. Just fucking
and so it makes me really nervous to see how he comes back from that. Yeah, because I don't think
he's not a young man,
right? And I think you lose explosivity faster the more you get hurt as you're older.
Well, and then looking back at Pineda's recent record, just an absolute shit show. It's hard for me to even read this. So I guess he has a win over Ray Trujillo in KO in 2019. He has a canceled bout. Then he has 2 consecutive no contests. He has a no contest against Kayabulev in 2019 and a no contest that says guillotine choke. Jeremy Kennedy in 19 as well. There's another cancel.
Pretty sure got popped for PEDs. Pineda did.
Oh, that would make sense.
They were wins that are no contest because he was cheating.
Okay. I'm so glad you provided that information. Oh man. And then he has a win over Herbert Burns.
Now his win over Herbert Burns is huge. That's where he's getting these numbers from.
Yeah, we watched that. Well, we did the Beefy Boys on that. The crucifix. That's what made me remember that fight. Yeah, I mean, but who doesn't look good when they get a guy in a crucifix? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, Herbert Burns,
obviously, it takes skill to get a guy in a crucifix, but
apparently Herbert Burns had a terrible weight cut for that fight and was like shuffling around in the back, like barely could even walk when he was cutting weight the day before.
A lot of when the MMA fighters pop for PEDs. What people don't realize, and obviously with the bigger guys, it's different. But with these smaller guys, when they pop for PEDs, it's not anabolic steroid usually.
It's like diuretics or EPO.
To help them with the weight cut. So when you're saying Burns struggle with the weight cut, it kind of doesn't give me. And he got popped for PEDs. I don't know. Kind of doesn't give me too much. I don't know. It's kind of a nightmare of a matchup, which is why the UFC made this. Right? It's just too. Train wrecks like collide.
It's kind of like a loser goes home. Your career's just pretty much that point where it's beyond saving. So it's maybe a little bit me liking Cub Swanson and just knowing about him for a long time now, being out there as one of those Team Alpha Male guys. But
yeah, and that name carries weight. Like Cub Swanson, like MMA fans know that name. I feel you. And it would be a cool ass, story if he managed to come back, and looks good.
Absolutely.
Like I feel like if either one of these guys look great, then awesome. Like something good came out of this fight. But I just hope they don't both go out there looking like a shit show.
So I'm very worried about that. And you know what? The more we've talked about this fight, it's just so 50-50 for me. So 50-50.
It kind of depends, who shows up, which guy gets off the bus, you know what I'm saying, or how that knee's holding up, or how the PEDs waning is going.
There's just so many questions as far as one guy had this detrimental injury to his career. The other guy has a history of steroids whenever he wasn't in the UFC. But then he comes to the UFC and looks great in his first fight, but then you find out his opponent had a terrible weight cut and could barely walk, and you're just like, what do I take away from this? It's so hard to figure out where either of these guys stand currently. Either way, it's going to be a tremendous fight to watch.
And Vegas has it pretty close to a toss-up, too, as far as the odds go. So, I mean, like I said, probably another one to avoid. Like, I feel you didn't talk me into betting on Swanson, but you talked me out of betting on Pineda.
Yeah, there you
debate.
go.
Yeah, for sure, brother. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll keep it pushing, man.
So they close out the prelims, and then we open up the main card with Junior Dos Santos versus Cyril Gane, or Gane. I'm not really sure he's French, but the odds on this one are second biggest odds on the card, if I'm not mistaken.
Huge numbers. Gane, all the biggest number I see is minus 500, and certain books have Dos Santos up to like 360. So
I've seen like plus 350 and minus 450, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, that's pretty average. If you aggregate all the numbers together, that's pretty fair. Yeah,
and I think those are fair odds too.
Yeah, because Dos Santos, obviously, at the end of the rope, right? Like,
he's just a shell of who he was, man. He's taken so many beatings. His wars with Cain Velasquez, his wars with Stipe. I mean, you just can't go to wars with like all-time greats in heavyweight and expect to have the same performance at the end of your career. Daniel Cormier talks about all the time that shots landed on him at the end of his career that would have never landed 6 years prior.
Well, bro, and it's so weird because people say this all the time, like, oh, heavyweights can fight older. But, like, can they or do they? Like, they do.
But it's like, should they?
They never look great. Like, I've always kind of disagreed with that kind of, you hear that thrown around. Like, that's just one of those MMA kind of things people say. Like, even analysis fans, you'll hear that thrown around. Just, oh, he's older, but, he's a heavyweight. So, I mean, like, dog, what does that mean? Like,
what sucks about it is, like, who is the Australian guy has all the walk-off KOs? I'm just blanking on his name right now.
Is it Overeem or no?
No, it's he got in a big fight with the UFC, has the samurai tattoo on his back. But either way, he fought Brock Lesnar, and Lesnar beat him whenever he was, and then tested positive for steroids. Mark Hunt. Mark Hunt.
Okay.
So Mark Hunt is one of those guys that he fought till he was 44. The only reason he could still fight was because he literally had KO power in his punches. That was it. Like, that was it. He had no other skills.
Mark Hunt's career, it wasn't great to watch. Yeah,
it was awful. It was awful.
Yeah, fucking tits flopping everywhere and just going for bombs, just technique out the window. It's literally just fat uncles fighting. I know. Shout out Snoop Dogg. He made that line famous recently. But seriously, like, that's why I didn't like that line. Whenever Snoop said it in the Tyson fight, that's a whole other story. But no, like, watching Mark Hunt at the end of his career, that's watching the drunk uncles fight.
Absolutely. And I think JDS is at that same point now as Mark Hunt was then, which is that he's just getting thrown to a wolf to be food. Like, Cyril Gane hasn't. A lot of his fights have been canceled.
Do you know? It sounds like, I mean, you're pretty big on this guy. He's really he's young, right? He's like 6-0, or right? He has a small record.
Small record, but he's also been scheduled. He's like Tony Ferguson. His last 3 scheduled fights have all been washed due to COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, which, I mean, sucks for him, but he is a monster. He's a smashing machine, and honestly, he has really good technique, but his power is just insane. Like, I could definitely see him one-shot KOing JDS in this fight.
All right. Sounds like he's in the old parlay.
Honestly.
No, seriously. I mean, there's not much of a path to victory for Dos Santos other than, I mean, he's a wily veteran, maybe gets him in some crazy submission, but you know what I'm saying?
I would say if you could get the parlay on this one, I would say take it to not go the distance, because I don't see any way this fight can last 15 minutes with the way JDS is going to try and go to war with him.
Yeah, right. One way or another. Yeah, that's a very valid point. Yeah, so you did a good job selling me. Like I said, I obviously knew about Junior Dos Santos' like career, and like I obviously know that he's not what he once was. Aging fighter. We've seen this story a million times. Aging fighter on the death's doorstep. Young up and coming lion. Trying to get a name cachet win. Essentially. Yeah, we've seen this movie before, and it usually ends in Cyril Gane's favor. So yeah, man. That I hope we at least just get like a banger out of it. You know what I mean? I hope Dos Santos lands a couple. I'll be real. I hope he makes it interesting. But
here's a scary comparison for Cyril Gane. At his highest, like at his ceiling, he could be Francis Ngannou, and I think at his floor, he's Walt Harris. So I think he beats JDS no matter what here.
Yeah. No, I feel you. And Vegas definitely agrees with you. Like, honestly, even without knowing much about Cyril game, just knowing where Dos Santos is and then seeing these money lines, yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. And then, especially you add on, the fact that Gain's a killer. And yeah, it looks like we've got a pretty one-sided affair. Perfect for another parlay build-in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the next fight is Mackenzie Dern versus Verna Yandiroba, or Jandiroba, however you want to say it. She's Brazilian, so I'm not sure. Mackenzie Dern minus 190 is what I have her at, and Jandiroba at plus 160. Probably pretty close. You might see Mackenzie Dern down to like a minus 170 or minus 220, somewhere in that range, I would guess.
Yeah, I see. So the smallest number on Dern is minus 186. The biggest is minus 205. So, yeah,
Okay.
about 190-ish, minus 190-ish, that ballpark.
This is a fight I am absolutely staying away from. Absolutely staying away from. Both these girls are expert-level jiu-jitsu practitioners.
Talk about it. I'll be right back.
Sure. So both these girls, expert-level jiu-jitsu practitioners. Mackenzie Dern has a huge following on Instagram. As American as that name sounds, she is Brazilian. Obviously, so is Verna Yandiroba as well. So essentially, what the reason I'm staying away from this fight is because when you get two jiu-jitsu practitioners that are just that high level in the octagon against each other, it really comes down to who's going to be a better striker combined with their jiu-jitsu. So, you try and lock up an armbar, perhaps, but when someone's punching you in the face or dropping elbows down, it's a lot harder to stay composed and lock in those submissions. Now, I think Mackenzie Dern is the bigger and stronger woman in this fight, but Yandiroba in her last fight out just really looked really, really good. And I just think that at the numbers that you're given, there's no reason to go for that risk, right? Because Mackenzie Dern, if you bet on her, you're going to get, let's say you bet your $100 or whatever, you only get 50 back if she wins. If you bet 200 on Yandiroba, let's say, 100 on Yandiroba, you only get back like 130. So I just think that the action with the numbers here is definitely not worth it, considering that it's going to be a jiu-jitsu grappling match, and both these girls are like stellar jiu-jitsu practitioners.
Okay, so you see this taking place mainly on the mat. You staying away from it. Just if there were no money line attached, and forgive me if you've already said this, who would you be able to? Who would you?
Yeah, so I hadn't said that already, but that's a great point. I probably leaned to Mackenzie Dern. I think she's just the bigger and stronger woman, and so
yeah,
in a grappling match,
she is very, very strong and big. I feel you.
Yeah, and Yandiroba is kind of a taller, longer style girl. And Mackenzie Dern, she's won ADCC Jiu-Jitsu championships, so like I think she might actually be the better jiu-jitsu practitioner here. But that's so tough whenever you include punches and kicks.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it kind of does go out the window. Not out the window, but we've seen it go out the window. So I mean, sometimes
Absolutely.
It does. So yeah, phenomenal.
So that's a fight where I'd probably just stay away from it because their styles are so identical that it's so hard to know who's going to win whenever people's styles line up almost identical.
True. It's like sometimes you think it's hard whenever it's like conflicting styles, but it's honestly harder whenever it is kind of two of the same. Like who can execute their game plan better? You know what I mean? It's like
right. It's like two counter strikers fighting. You don't see any punches get thrown because no one leads the action.
Yeah, exactly. I feel you. That's a good word. That's a good way to put it. Man, how long till we get to fucking Holland? Is it coming?
He's
out?
next.
Oh,
He's next.
God damn it.
Featured bout. So yeah, Kevin Holland. I have it plus 100, so he's essentially even money. And then Souza, I have it minus 120. That obviously could be fluctuating any different ways. I've seen that number change all throughout the week.
Pretty goddamn flat actually across the board. I mean, I see Souza from minus 111 to minus 125, but most places have a minus 125, like the vast majority. And then Kevin Holland, I have some plus 100, but actually some Bet365 has a minus 111. Oh, they have them both minus 111.
Oh, they have them as true pick'em.
True pick'em. Yeah, plus 105 at a few places. Yeah, William Hill has a plus 100, minus 125. I mean, I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna avoid this one. I'm gonna take my own advice. I said this on our sports betting episode. avoid betting with your heart, like avoid betting on fighters you're a fan of. And I've fell victim to that many times in my life, just across all sports. Like I'm that homer bettor, and it's bit my wallet in the ass many a time. And so I like Kevin Holland so much, just like as a fan, as somebody who covers him, just man to man, quite frankly, that I want to be like, oh, how is he the underdog? But you gotta respect, Jacare, and you gotta respect, what. He's still the level he's still fighting at, and the huge jump in competition up from Kevin Holland.
Yeah. For Kevin Holland, it's exactly that, bro. It's exactly that. This is a big jump in level of competition for Holland. Now he's fought Thiago Santos before to a decision, so it's not like he can't fight these guys. And actually, if anyone is interested, the UFC Countdown episode of the segment over Kevin Holland and Souza is outstanding.
I need to check it out.
I forgot that Kevin Holland was a Dana White Contender Series guy that was talking trash or talking shit the whole time in the fight. So he beat the hell out of the guy, but didn't finish him. And then Dana afterwards says, I'm not signing that guy. He can't shut the hell up during a fight. The whole reason, right? Well, then Thiago Santos' opponent falls out. And then apparently Dana called 7 different people. Everyone turned the fight down. And he said, you know what? Call Big Mouth. See if he'll take it. I want to see what he says. And Kevin Holland said, cool, I'll be there. And then, honestly, had a great fight with Santos. Talked shit to Santos the whole fight. And then afterward, loses a decision. Doesn't even get stopped by Thiago Santos, who top 5 light heavyweight now.
Yeah.
So Kevin Holland is super game. And then his story's even cooler, man.
Fuck, man. Just that's my favorite thing about him. Like, he strikes me as the type of guy that would be doing this if he was making $500 a fight. Like
absolutely,
he's that guy.
And he talks about that. He says he got kicked out of high school because he just used to fight people just because he didn't know what else to do. Like he was just a fighter. And then he had a teacher that was a mixed martial arts instructor and said, "Hey, come to my class." And that's how he got in. Yeah, that's how he got in MMA.
Damn, I never knew that.
Dude, Kevin Holland's the coolest. And then he got 2 performance bonuses in his first 4 fights in the UFC, right? So an extra $100,000. And he loves cars and what's the other thing he loves?
Shoes.
Cars and shoes. That's right, cars and shoes. So he has this lime green 64 Chevelle with a rebuilt 357 engine in it. So
Chevelles
nice.
are so clean. It's one of the most underrated cars. Like straight up, even before I knew this, like if I was to ever buy like an old school, like a Chevelle, I've always been attracted to Chevelles.
They're so nice. And the whole reason he bought it was because he went on IG Live and was like, hey, looking at this car. I was like showing it off. Dana White calls him while he's on live and is like, hey, are you really looking at that car right now? And so they start talking about the car. I guess Dana loves old school cars like that too.
Yeah.
And Dana was like, cool, I'll pay for half of it because you've been doing so good for us.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, so like Kevin Holland's story is dope.
Getting these goddamn Dana duffel bags.
Dude, that guy has bags. I looked up his net worth last night, $500 million. Dana's.
Oh yeah, which like once again makes the fighter pay things like so much.
Do you know that the UFC only pays out 14.3% of their revenues to fighter pay? 14.3. That's it. MLB is 54%, I think.
Yeah, and most other sports, I'm pretty sure, are close to 50-50. No, that's really horseshit. That really is
yeah. So anyway, we can get back into the breakdown. I'm sorry. Well, I love Kevin Holland. As people probably well know, we are fans of the Trailblazer here at Beefy Boys Breakdown.
And mainly because we see him, I feel like every other week he's like a scheduled appointment. Like seriously, like you can set your clock to him. I mean, we've been doing Beefy Boys Breakdown. I mean, for 28 weeks now, whatever that math breaks down into months, and this is like our 5th time talking about him.
I honestly, man, like what's crazy to me too to think about is that Kevin Holland just is so game all the time, and he knocked out Joaquin Buckley.
Yeah, he did. Let's not
people knocked him out so hard that he hit him with the 1-2 and it slapped Buckley's mouthpiece almost out of the octagon. Well, that's a highlight the UFC doesn't want to show because Buckley has the greatest KO ever.
Buckley, yeah, I feel you. He Kevin Holland is so – I love watching him fight. Like, even if he didn't have the personality that we liked and all that, I literally love watching him fight because we talk about guys all the time that, like, wing punches and, like, swing from the hip and it, like, looks ugly. And then we talk about guys all the time that fire shit down the pipe. And like Kevin Holland has down the pipe range, but with legit power. And just you mix that with just his mental state, how game he is, and he has like these slick like boxing slips he does, like you don't see all the time in MMA. It's so fucking captivating to watch, bro.
Yeah, he's great to watch. Like for anyone that is looking for a fight to watch, to like maybe you're not sure if you like the UFC, watch these two guys fight. I promise you'll like the UFC after you watch Kevin Holland fight. Now, Souza, on the other hand, is
I was about
old.
to say, let's get into Souza. And actually, my bad, not to cut you off, but I feel like this will frame this up nice, a good way to transition. So Vegas has Souza favored. What's Souza's like play devil's advocate here, because I know we both want Holland to win. Play devil's advocate here, like what's giving Vegas this confidence? Granted, it's a very slim margin. I mean, he's barely favored, but still, like just kind of build a case for Souza. You know what I'm saying? Like play devil's advocate here.
So Souza's last fight took place at 205, and he actually went up to fight Jan Blachowicz, who's the champion now.
That's right.
But he lost that in a split decision.
Yeah.
So he damn near beat him. Now, most people would tell you, and I would tell you, that it shouldn't have been a split decision. It should have been Blachowicz.
We both said that on the breakdown, I believe. Right.
But, I mean, if you think about how scary Blachowicz's power is and the fact that Jacare could still deal with it, and then you couple in the fact that he's an elite Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I mean, super elite. I mean, he's gone the distance with guys like Yoel Romero at 85. And 85 is more his natural weight class. So this is kind of
like a scrawnier 85. He's not
he could make 70. Like totally. He for sure could.
Totally. So that factors. You think like the brute strength factor kind of comes into play a little bit?
I think yes and no, because like Souza's 42, I'm pretty sure, or 41. He's getting up there in age.
Yeah, he's in the 4.0s.
And he's not a heavyweight like we were just talking about. So really, stylistically, it's going to favor Holland if he can pepper him and put a lot of shots and damage on him.
Yeah.
But the problem is, I honestly could see Souza getting a takedown here because Kevin Holland does not have the best takedown defense.
Or just probably ground game in general. He's a striker. He's a striker.
And if you look at Kevin Holland's fight with Darren Stewart recently, he won that by winning the first 2 rounds and then got dominated in that 3rd round, damn near a 10-8 because he was so tired. So I'm just a little worried about Kevin Holland's cardio. If he gets into like these heavy grappling exchanges where, sorry, my brain's flaming out on me.
No, you're making sense. Like
it's going to wear him out.
For cardio too, where he can stand and dance around on the outside, which would gas a lot of guys' cardio. But you're right, he's like grappling cardio. It zaps him. We've seen examples of it a few times now.
So this is a fight where it's all my heart and not my brain. I'm going to pick Kevin Holland, but I mean, it's a total coin flip. Like this is such a coin flip. It's just who comes out and gets to fight their fight and makes the other guy fight. Yeah.
Yes, I completely wholeheartedly agree. Like if Kevin Holland can turn this into a striking match, much less like a B range kickboxing boxing match, then God damn it, I have him by a landslide. I'll bet the farm. But it's mixed martial arts. It could very, very, very much end up with Holland pressed up against the cage and Souza, just grinding on him, and wearing him down. Do you see a scenario where Souza gets the finish, or I think that if Souza wins, it would probably be the decision. Or you think he will get the finish?
I think if Souza wins, it's by a finish. Unfortunately.
Okay, like a submission or like ground.
Yeah, sub, for sure, sub. And I don't think it's a rear naked choke. I don't think Kevin Holland's getting wrapped up like that. I think it's gonna be like an arm bar, a triangle choke.
Just from Kevin Holland kind of just not being the crispest from like a defensive grappling perspective, just getting caught in something. I could see that happening. Right. I could totally see that happening. I mean, I don't want to see it happening, but I could totally see that happening. Like I said, nothing would make me happier than to see just them go out and then just Holland just fire straight down the pipe and bust up his nose and just get that type of win. I would love to see that. And
Souza's pretty heavy with scar tissue as well, so there's a good chance that Kevin Holland does piece him up and gets him looking really bad. And as far as judges' scorecards go, that's going to affect those scorecards.
Yeah, man. Could go either way. Just this is kind of a clash of styles. I mean, I love the matchup because it was supposed to be Holland Hermanson.
Right, and Vettori Souza. Which shout out Paisan.
Shout out my Paisan. Man, I think the switch matchups, like the matchups that we got, actually kind of were closer, more evenly matched matchups. Or
100%, 100%, 100%. Like Hermansson was going to be a heavy favorite against Holland, and Vettori was going to be a sizable favorite over Souza.
It kind of worked out in this one instance.
Yeah, surprisingly so, and it's almost odd that the matchmakers didn't do it more to that to begin with, but it's neither here nor there. Now, we're finally at that fight. We're finally at the co-main. Tony El Kukui, the boogeyman for Charles Oliveira. What a great fight, man. What an absolutely great fight. And I will say as well, on the Counting episodes, this is another fantastic episode that kind of tells you about both guys. Like, Charles Oliveira's goal in his whole life has been to get people on the street to, like, ask him for his autograph, to have this nice house, to put his mom in a house, and to eventually be a champion. Like, those are his goals. So he's essentially got all that covered, minus the champion part. And I think he's the dark horse in this division. Because if he beats Ferguson, he's right there. He's right there.
Boy, and it's cool because and just for fans of the breakdown, they've heard us beat this, dead horse. But, I mean, we've been talking about this proverbial lightweight tournament for a cool ass minute now, and it's finally happening.
It's kicking off.
This is step one. Then McGregor-Poirier. Mm-hmm. Chandler says he has a fight booked, and now we know it's not against Gage. A lot of people thought it was Gage when he announced he had a fight booked. Now people are thinking it's Dan Hooker.
Yeah, that is right. Chandler Hooker. That is right.
Oh, it is? Okay.
It's not official, but that's what Helwani was saying.
Yeah, that's the rumor mill. Yeah. When they first announced it, everybody would have bet the house that it was Gagey, but then Gagey came out and said Dana promised him winner of McGregor-Poirier. So it's like, I was like, oh, well, he's clearly not fighting Chandler.
Dude, how tough for Michael or for Dan Hooker, too. Has that war with Poirier. Absolute war. And now he has to fight Michael Chandler. Damn.
I like, and I know we're getting a little bit off topic, but it's kind of all on topic because all these fights are so interwoven. The consequences of these fights, moreover, are so interwoven. That
it's like a legit tournament. Like, if you lose, you're out of the championship run for right now.
It's hard to talk about one of these fights without talking about those other guys. Like, just the way that it's set up right now, they're really interwoven. So I mean, let's talk about the odds. William Hill has it plus 138 for Oliveira, minus 175 for Ferguson. I think that those numbers represent exactly.
I think that's right on.
Yeah. Like I swear to God, if I had to split how I felt, because it's gun to my head, not Scarface, fucking Batman.
Two-Face.
Two-Face. Like coin flip, gun to the head, coin flip. I have to choose. I'm going Ferguson
for sure.
But I mean, it doesn't take a genius to find a path to victory for Oliveira. I mean,
he has clear and present paths to victory.
Yes, yeah, man. But like I said, I mean, it's a 3-round fight.
3-round, unfortunately. If it was 5, I'd be all in on Ferguson. I'd be all in on Ferguson if it was 5.
You're right. But that presents other can of worms too. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where Ferguson should win if Ferguson is still who we remember Ferguson being.
He took a lot of damage 7 months ago.
Yeah, 7 months, and then all the layoffs and canceled fights and this and that. And I could be wrong. I'm not a fighter, but it just, from what I know about sports, I don't think that's great for a fighter to go through training camps and then not fight, and then have a bunch of fights canceled. That mentally, that has to, and I know Ferguson's a savage mentally.
I was going to say, normally I would agree with you, but he's just such a weird, mentally different guy.
He is. He's an absolute savage, freak of nature physically. Every UFC podcast I've ever watched ever mentions his insane cardio and his insane mental toughness.
His work ethic is just apparently unbeatable.
Fighter. He's that fighter that other fighters drink beers and talk about that fighter.
Right. They're do you believe he runs for 6 hours a day? Shit like that. And you're just what?
Yeah, seriously. So, I mean, you're right. If anybody is not going to get deterred, it's him. I don't know, man. And I know not everything can make a cross-sport reference, but we see it in football. Sometimes the team that gets to the bye week comes out and looks like shit, and then the wild card team that's been on a roll and has a 6-game winning streak, they're fucking firing on all cylinders. Like that, like I said, that to me is going to be the biggest factor. And that's something we'll never really know for sure, or I'll never be able to like confirm my hypothesis. But like, if Oliveira wins, and that's not to take away from what Oliveira may or may not accomplish. It's just, I think most people are going to kind of think to those layoffs, the canceled fights, the this, the that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's hard for me to separate that.
Here's how I honestly see this fight playing out. I think Charles Oliveira's skill set is super comparable to Donald Cerrone when Cerrone was a little younger. Not Cerrone now, but younger Cerrone, who was a little bit more lethal with the jiu-jitsu and is a lot more spry.
Yeah. Oliveira's jiu-jitsu is like terrifying. Like most people think of
so
jiu-jitsu
legit.
as like defensive or just like crafty. Like they don't think of it as like intimidating and aggressive. Like typically, like most people's jiu-jitsu, dude, Oliveira is a goddamn like actual like constrictor. Like
he put who was it in a calf slicer and got the first ever calf slicer submission. Like a year ago.
It's my mind, but yeah, no, we saw that. I mean, his last fight was an insane submission too. I'm sorry,
the guillotine against Kevin Lee. Yeah.
Yes, the guillotine against Kevin Lee, and yeah, I mean, Oliveira's grappling so aggressive, so his strength when he goes to lock in a submission is just next level. Like it jumps off the screen. Like it doesn't make sense. Like how does submission strength translate to jumping off the screen? Like his submission lock-in strength reminds me of like punching power strength, like how some people that jumps off the screen. Like his submissions look different than other guys' submissions. His squeeze looks different than other guys' that squeeze. It just does.
I 100% agree. I mean, if you look at his Kevin Lee guillotine submission victory, he has Kevin Lee. So for most people, or for people that don't know, when you get someone in the guillotine, you have to have them in at least like a half guard, full guard. They can't be on the opposite side of the guillotine, or else the pressure's not right. Well, Kevin Lee had almost transitioned to be the way to be safe from the guillotine, and then you see Oliveira catch just one of his legs and put the actual squeeze on. It was over. I mean, his squeeze is insane.
His squeeze, it's nuts. Like I know, like some people, may think that's boring or how is just go watch Oliveira highlights and you'll be like, whoa! Other guys,
dudes straight go to sleep before they can even tap sometimes.
Yeah, it's like his whole body, the strength. You see it like squeeze. It's really impressive. I love the matchmaking because, like we said, when we were having our hypothetical tournaments and all that, we always showed Oliveira his respect, his just due.
For sure,
you can't leave him out of the conversation. But I think it was like he was option 1B. You know what I'm saying? Like
absolutely.
He wasn't at the top of the pecking order.
So does
actually, like in a weird way, and I'm as excited about Chandler's debut as anybody. It was gonna strike me a little, I don't even know, but if Chandler got the Ferguson fight, wouldn't like as far as true like UFC is considered like Oliveira, you can make the argument he's more deserving, or you know what I'm saying? He's deserving as fuck, and then a guy comes over from another. So in a way, I kind of like that Hooker is Chandler's intro fight, and that
like starting him at the back end rather than starting him right at the front.
Yeah, because for a second there, all the talk was he was jumping straight to the end of the front of the line, or one fight then title shot, and we'll see how it works out. But it looks like at least as of now, he has at least this fight and one more fight before he gets a title shot, which I think is fair when you got guys like Oliveira and Ferguson and Poirier that have been, grinding and been working for the UFC for a long time.
So here's how I think I see it drawn out finally now that we've gotten it, right? Is that Dan Hooker and Chandler are going to fight, and the winner of that fight is going to fight the winner of Poirier-McGregor. Because...
No. Gagey already has dibs on Poirier-McGregor winner.
Really?
That's all it counts. Like, official-ass people are saying that. I think Dana signed off on it. So, I'm saying, if we were in charge, I'm not saying I disagree with you, but for the sake of the argument, it looks like Gagey has that Poirier-McGregor winner on lock.
So, in that case, it sounds like Gaethje got the first-round bye, essentially, and that Oliveira and Ferguson are going to fight to see who fights Chandler or Hooker.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
And then from there, the winners of those fights, right? So the winner of Poirier-McGregor fights Gaethje. The winner of that then will probably face off against the winner of this other four-way side, and that's going to be our new lightweight champion. Unless Khabib jumps back and says, unless he jumps back in and says, Mom said 30 no is cool and I'm back for it.
With a steel chair, here comes Khabib. No, seriously. Yeah, no,
but if Khabib comes back and Ferguson wins, jump all of it. Ferguson Khabib, you have to make that for 30-0. Because he already holds wins over McGregor, Poirier, and a few others.
And I'm sorry to do this to you again. I need more beer. Go ahead and lead us into Moreno, Figueiredo. I'll be right back, brother.
Yeah. So Brandon Moreno is going to be the challenger here. He was the number one ranked 125. Obviously, that sounds confusing because the champion is always at the top of the weight, and number one is the challenger or closest challenger. So Brandon Moreno, baby assassin baby actually, which is a super weird name. He's straight from Mexico. He trains out of Tijuana, so just on the other side of San Diego. Really looks really young, is pretty young. It is a bigger guy than Davison Figueiredo, which is interesting because Davison Figueiredo, the champion, is known as being this Goliath of a man at the weight class, and that he could honestly easily fight at 35, but instead stays and fights at 25 because he can make the weight still. He used to be a sushi chef, used to be a hairstylist. Figueiredo's got this awesome backstory as far as like he's always done fighting and he's always been super invested in fighting, but it's finally all started to click together for him. And obviously, finally started, I should say, is wrong because he is the champion. He has defended his belt now, and he's only fought in championship bouts in the last 3 fights. Brandon Moreno beat Royval 3 weeks ago. Brandon Royval. And it was a weird match because Royval's shoulder popped out of place. What's interesting to me about this fight, I was just saying what's super interesting to me about this fight is that when Moreno fought Kai Kara-France, he got tagged up with some straight shots down the middle. Like Kara-France was throwing shots down the middle, like down the pipe, and they were just tagging Moreno up. Now, granted, he handled business and won that fight, but if he eats those shots down the center from Davison Figueiredo, there's no chance.
Bro, all right. And thank you so much for, bridging that gap there. I apologize for bailing on you. But so how I view this fight, how this fight is taking place in my head, or at least how I'm approaching this fight, is I think, all right, so I'm going to start here. The gap between Royval and Figueiredo, is just massive.
Big gap.
Huge. You couple that with the fact that Moreno's victory over Royval was largely due to the kind of freak injury, or maybe not so freak, but either way, it wasn't your traditional victory. And
it wasn't like he was dominating that fight either.
Yeah. I would have loved to see it finish out or go the distance or whatever. But
for sure.
So you couple those two things together, and I think people have not only recency bias, but unfounded recency bias. Like I said, I would not. Now, if somebody wants to make the argument for Moreno that doesn't include the Royval fight, and I'm not saying you have to throw it out the window, but I'm just saying to convince me that he has a chance over Figueiredo, I would love to hear the argument made without bringing up the Royval fight. But I feel like the general kind of, I hate the term casual, but just the people talking out there, I feel like they're just have this unfounded, overemphasized, exaggerated recency bias because of the Royval finish.
100% they do.
Yeah.
I'm fully on board with you on that.
How could you have that and not have the recency bias for Figueiredo's murder scenes?
Because you see Figueiredo beat Joseph Benavidez twice in a row. He misses weight the first time they fight, so it's not for a title for him. Then he makes weight the second fight. Starches him in both fights, by the way. Absolutely destroys Joseph Benavidez.
Yes.
So, but then it's that's kind of like they were trying to give Joey B a shot. And then he beats last week Alex Perez, who's ranked number 4 in the division. So I think a lot of the people that are casuals see, well, he beat guys that are not, that guy ranked number 2, guy ranked number 3, and then a guy ranked number 4. But now he has to fight the guy ranked number 1, and it's like, listen, none of that matters.
Yeah,
Figueiredo is a smashing machine.
Word vomit going on. Figueiredo, but even with that argument, Figueiredo's dominant, no controversy, smash win against number 4, but people are overvaluing a fluky win over number 6 Royval. I just even by that logic, it just seems conflicting to me. I think people love to be contrarians. I think people love to be hot take specialists. People love to be right when they call an upset. And also people hate when fighters miss weight, and Figueiredo, that's like, I've never, and granted, it happened, it happened. He missed
Right.
weight. But that's like just like associated, like they're tied at the hip. Like it's not like he misses weight every time, or he didn't.
He's
just
made it the
make
last
weight
2
twice.
times.
Yes, and it looks phenomenal. So I just it's like he wears this like ball and chain that's just like, oh, he missed weight that time, but it's like, and I guess at 25 though, like,
Oh, that's where it's the biggest deal, because 25
exactly.
is the hardest weight to make.
No, exactly. It's fair. Like, and we hate guys missing weight too. And if he misses weight for this fight, then God damn it, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be pissed as fuck and probably be out on Figueiredo.
What odds do you have on this fight, by the way? I didn't give the numbers because I just didn't want to be too far off in case they had shifted. Because I think money's been coming in on Figueiredo.
William Hill plus 260 Figueiredo. Oh no, sorry, plus 260 Moreno, minus 345 Figueiredo for William Hill.
Yeah, money just keeps pouring in on this man. It's crazy.
The biggest number I see on Figueiredo, Sports INT has minus 410. And then on Moreno, the smallest number, or I guess the biggest number on Moreno is like plus 285. And the smallest number is 250 or 237 actually on Sportsbook. So
wow. They're giving Moreno a lot of credit. I didn't give Moreno that much credit. Like, I think 3-1 underdog, 4-1 favorite's probably about right in this fight. Like, I think Figueiredo smashes him.
Yeah, like I may goddamn well put Figueiredo in my parlay. Like seriously, like I feel good about it. Like I've been wrong before. I have a pretty shitty track record on this, but I feel fucking good about Figueiredo. Like,
yeah, I would too.
Moreno, like, and this is the thing too, where we talked about it on Figueiredo's last fight. It's like, and I guess this is why people have the weight cut beef. Like, he's not a true 125er. But that's why I love watching him fight 25ers.
Same, bro, same.
And what I guess I'll give Moreno as credit is, I'm not trying to shit on Moreno here. I think against like most like true like 125 built, 125 frame ass motherfuckers, I think Moreno. I mean, like I'll take Moreno versus the field if you're not including Figueiredo. I just think Figueiredo is like something different, like something just. It's a whole nother ball game. Like, I don't think you can line him up with the other 125ers. And I'm not trying to oversimplify it. It's not a bodybuilding contest, and yeah, the weight cut's been an issue, but I mean, it's one of those things where the strength just shows up so much in the octagon that, like, when I watch Figueiredo fight, I don't think, oh, it must have been a hard weight cut. I think this guy is fucking just way stronger than any flyweight I've ever seen.
Yeah, and Leffler brings up a good point that Moreno's ground game needs a good amount of work for sure, but it's also more due to the fact that Figueiredo's ground game is already good.
Well,
right.
Figueiredo, when Figueiredo, I think it was 2 wins ago against Benavidez, he got the submission, the rear naked choke after starching him. He that squeeze reminded me of Oliveira's squeeze. And I don't know if it's just the muscles, but just like it really does remind me of like Oliveira's squeeze when Figueiredo locks something in.
Dude, Figueiredo's his squeeze against Benavidez and the guillotine put him out, or the rear naked put him out, and then against Perez he got that guillotine. But remember how he got it was he jumped in for the leg, spun into like an Imanari roll essentially into a leg lock that Perez defended by putting weight down the leg and spinning in, right? As soon as he spun in, it's like Figueiredo planned it from the start, knew it was going to happen, reached up, went over the head, rocked back to the guillotine. And honestly, Perez's head was almost out, if you remember. Like, it was literally up on the bridge of his head, and apparently that squeeze was too much.
Pure squeeze. Yeah, it wasn't like perfect form. It was perfect freak of nature squeeze. Yeah, man. I feel great about Figueiredo. Like, honestly, as far as like level of confidence goes, like, it probably goes like Hooper, Figueiredo, Fiziev. I don't know.
I'm pretty high on Tisha Torres. I think Tisha Torres literally just walks straight through Sam Hughes.
All right,
sure. I would say my confidence would go Tisha Torres, Figueiredo, Hooper, and then Fiziev. Or Cyril Gain's going to be more confident than Fiziev, but I would never bet that. So, like, if I'm doing a parlay, I'm taking any of those first four that we just talked about, and then throwing Fazeev on the back end of it. And maybe you could even take like JDS and Cyril Gain to not go the distance, right? Like there's certain other things you could put into a parlay to make it really, really interesting, but also to have a nice little payout.
Yeah, no, definitely, bro. I swear I'm gonna try not to get nervous this time. Like last time, I walked in the counter and I just fucking turtled up. I was like,
Well,
like,
it's
I
also
felt
fucked
like a
up.
little kid. Like I felt like a little kid with a fake ID. Like I wasn't supposed to. But obviously, I'm not. I don't know, bro. Like, it was my first time placing a legal bet. I was like, I don't know.
Like, what do I do?
It was whack.
It's like the first time you ever go into a dispensary. It's like a little bit of a different feeling because you're so used to it not being okay.
Yeah, definitely. Damn, that takes me back. The first time walking through a dispensary, man, I was fresh from Oklahoma. Because I moved out here. Like, it was
Before we
crazy.
had it out here as medical, you
Yes.
moved out there. That's right.
And also, by coincidence, it went wreck here. Like
when you came, right?
Like essentially right when I got here.
That's
went
legit.
Like
That's legit.
Almost like synced up perfectly. And so yeah, I remember those days. But man, this was a lot of fun.
I enjoyed it.
It'll be hard probably to do this every card, but maybe the big pay-per-views.
Maybe the pay-per-views, yeah. I'm down.
I would love to do this. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, man, I think I'm gonna do a little $20-$30 parlay, see what
yes,
happens.
Sir.
I'm going snowboarding Saturday, so I'm gonna watch the fights probably late, probably after they're actually happening, but you know all about that. I'm getting a pot of coffee going, but apologize. My phone's running low. But yeah, man, we're going to wrap this up. This was the Beefy Boys UFC 256 preview. We will be, coming to you Sunday for Beefy Boys. I think it's going to be 28, I believe.
27 or 28. It's one of the two.
27 or 28. Yeah, one of the two. Yeah, thanks to everybody that tuned in. I am going to put this up on YouTube. I'll get it up before the fight, so I'll get it up tomorrow. And yeah, thanks everybody. Thank you. Great idea on doing the preview. And
yeah, man. Beefy bets. Beefy bets with the clairvoyant cattle. You know what I'm saying?
I love it, brother. Hell yeah, man. Thanks for all your input, man. Hopefully you make somebody a couple bucks, brother.
Yeah, you especially.
Yeah. Hopefully make me a couple bucks, motherfucker. But yeah, man, appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, bro. I'll see you later.